Earlier this year, at the famed World Economic Forum in Davos, tech titans and business heavyweights came up with a surprisingly low tech for the United States to win the race for AI supremacy.
This is the largest infrastructure build out in human history. That's going to create a lot of jobs. We're going to have plumbers and electricians and construction and steel workers. Salaries have gone up, nearly doubled. And so we're talking about six-figure salaries. Everybody should be able to make a great living. You don't need to have a PhD in computer science to do so.
We recently spoke with Mike Rowe, the CEO of the Mike Rowe Works Foundation. How validating was it for you to hear them talking about these so-called dirty jobs at Davos?
Peter, validating is a good word, but not as good as surreal, right? So I get up, I make a cup of coffee, I sit down at the kitchen table, and this pops up in my feed, and there's Jensen Huang and Larry Fink, two of the most powerful business people on planet Earth, saying precisely what me and your dad have been talking about for years. You're right. We have been beating a drum. We have been suggesting that there are millions of wonderful opportunities that just aren't getting the attention they deserve. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that AI would be the inciting incident or the proximate cause that would get the C-suite at that level to start paying this kind of attention. But look, Jensen spelled it out. We are on the cusp of the greatest infrastructure build in the history of mankind, and we do not have the workforce by a long shot to make it happen.
And to your point about that, I know that your foundation, the Mike Rowe Works Foundation, has had 10 times more applications for scholarships to trade schools recently than they have in the past. What is the draw for people applying? Is it that these jobs are AI proof, or is it that these jobs are not going to saddle people with a lifetime of student debt?
Yes, right? I think there are a lot of things that are pushing this right now. Six-figure AI-proof jobs are always great, but I think the important thing to realize here is that there's a giant demographic pressure that people don't talk a lot about that's pushing this too. For every 5 tradespeople that retire this year, 2 will replace them. It's been that way for over a decade. 5 out, 2 in. So the math doesn't hold up. People are retiring sooner than ever before. To your point, Gen Z, I think, is starting to get the memo. $1.8 trillion in outstanding student loans is held largely by them, mostly in the cohort that went for the 4-year degree. They're now realizing you don't have to do that. Electricians right now in Plano, Texas, I just toured a data center. I met 3 electricians, Peter, all under 30, none with any debt, all making north of $250,000 a year. And here's the crazy part. All had been poached 3 times in the prior year from other competing projects. That's what we're dealing with. That's why Jensen and Larry are having this conversation in Switzerland, because the consequences of a skills gap this wide have trickled all the way up, and not just into the C-suite, into the Pentagon, into the White House. You can see it in the policies that are coming out. This is a conversation that's long overdue. And yeah, man, I'm not going to take a victory lap, but I am very gratified to see it happening at this level.
And people who ask AI, who's been talking about this the longest, will get an answer of Mike Rowe. But I want to ask you, we know that some people who watch this show did get to go to Davos. Most of them, millions of them, did not. So what is your advice to people who are trying to figure out what their next step is? Should they try to, if they can, get a job or a trade that uses AI and adapts to AI, or should they just try to find something outside, like these skilled laborers who are making $250,000 with multiple offers?
Well, it's a great question, but I'm not sure I would say that those skilled laborers are separate and apart from AI. It's going to get, like, for instance, they're working in an AI factory. That's what a data center is at base. It's an AI factory. And the fact that electricians and plumbers are making that AI factory run says to me, look, you can't you can't separate the two completely, right? I feel like the skilled part of our workforce now and the AI reality in our economy now are actually two sides of the same coin. People didn't see it coming. For the longest time, it was learn to code, be a programmer. And as these skilled trades, look, robots are going to supplant you. Turns out it's kind of the opposite. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what ultimately is going to come to pass, but I do know that in the short term, I think Jensen is correct. The safest jobs in the economy right now are the ones that AI cannot do. Having said that, the best positioned employees are ones who use AI to make themselves exponentially more efficient. Those men and women are valuable right now. I don't care about the color of your collar, blue or white. If you're mastering AI, you're going to be more useful to your boss in ways that are impossible to overstate.
And Mike, before we go, how can people apply for these scholarships through your foundation?
We're opening our scholarship program now pretty much year round at microworks.org. There's a big button that says apply. It's hard to miss. These are just for trade schools. I'm very stingy with the money we raise. We've given away $20 million so far, but it's all for men and women who want to learn a skill that's in demand that does not require a 4-year degree. But anything else from cosmetology to electricians, we're the place to go. We can help. We've been doing it 17 years, and modesty aside, we're good at it.
Well, there's nobody like you. Mike Rowe, thank you for joining us on the Sunday Briefing. We hope to have you back soon.
My pleasure. Thanks, Peter.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.